There's something inside, stronger than my heart, wiser than my mind. There's something inside, deeper than deep, wider than wide. What are these fruits I'm bearing? All this love inside, all this love inside, I want to keep on cheering. What are these fruits I'm bearing? All this love inside, all this love inside, I want to keep on cheering. God, sunshine of truth, warming my life, transforming my strife, performing the miracles of seeds, turning into fruits, like life everlasting and love never ending, and the peace of surrendering to all these fruits I'm bearing. All this love inside, all this love inside, I want to keep on sharing with you. All these fruits I'm bearing, all God's love inside, all God's love inside, I want to keep on sharing. God, sunshine of truth, warming my life, transforming my strife, forming the miracles of seeds, turning into fruits, like life everlasting and love never ending, and the peace of surrendering to all these fruits I'm bearing. All God's love inside, all God's love inside, I want to keep on sharing with you. All these fruits I'm bearing, all God's love inside, all God's love inside, I want to keep on sharing with you. Fruits I'm bearing, all God's love inside, all God's love inside, I want to keep on sharing with you. Thank you.
This month our theme is about beauty and nature, art and aesthetics, and it goes really well, I think, with the idea of us creating a better world. This year, the themes that we've had monthly and the activities that we've had in the center, out in the world, is to create a better world. How can we create a better world? How can we create a better world? By allowing ourselves to heal discord or have freedom from discord and all those other things. Because a cup I used to have, it came out right after we came up with the idea of create a better world many, many, many years ago, and now we've got a whole group of volunteers that go out into service in the community, and it's the Create a Better World team, the Create a Better World team. But many years ago, when we were still in the Northgate property, we had cups that said, "Creating a better world, one person at a time," because the world consists of people. So what can I do so that I can thrive? What can I do so another person can thrive? What can I do so a group of people can thrive? Oh, there's a phone. That's for me. It's God calling. I know it is. So I think that we have downplayed or perhaps become unconscious of the need the soul has for beauty, the need that the soul has to be creative and to appreciate great art and aesthetic well-being. And yet, when things become difficult, I think something moves up into the soul and it seeks creative expression, especially through making things beautiful. The earliest recognition that we had of human beings, some of the earliest recognition we have of human beings is what they did to create. So we have ideas of their life by what they would either paint on walls or the monuments that they would create. There's something that says, now that I've fed myself and I know I'm going to be warm, what am I going to create? It's important. The Ramey family, how many of you know the Ramey family? Well, this is a Paul Ramey story, and Sharon checked it out. She approved of it because she listened to it first service. Paul's not here. He's on a boat. He's on a boat because it's Seafair weekend. But the Ramey family went on a family vacation to New Zealand, and they went to Christchurch, New Zealand. Christchurch, New Zealand, if you remember, had two huge earthquakes 2 years in a row. 2011, 2012, destroyed downtown, crumbled, nothing. Devastation, like it's hard to imagine in a country that supposedly has infrastructure. Now, huge devastation happens in a lot of places when there's no real modern ways of building, but they had modern ways of building, and it was still just crumbles. The first two buildings, and I got to see once again the pictures. The first thing that was built by a Japanese artist because materials were so hard to get. It was just crumbles, no infrastructure. So he came along and he says, I'll build you a church. He made it out of cardboard. It still exists. Cardboard tubing, I guess, is stronger than we think. So out of cardboard tubing, they made a beautiful church. And paper, glass windows, just lovely. First building. Second building they built. Second. What would you think would be the second in a town that is nothing but shambles? I would not have thought this. It's a museum, an art museum. And on the side of the art museum, in neon that lights up every night, it says, everything's going to be all right. That's the soul going, yes, we want to survive, but we're breathing. Now what? What are we surviving for? Once you know that the meal's going to come, what are we surviving for? It is an urge and a pull. So today I want to talk about creativity, because if we're going to talk about art and nature and aesthetics, let's talk about the human beings' participation in nature and in art and aesthetics. And what I want to say is we were created to be creative. We were created to be creative. In an individual, unique way, we were created to be creative. And I think it's really wonderful that we have 29 congregants who are displaying their artworks on the lower level lobby and also upstairs. And you get to see that even though it's visual art, it's all very, very different visual art. And the glory in that uniqueness and that diversity, but it's still art. Someone needing to express themselves in a way that will live beyond themselves. Powerful. So here's how I know that we were created to be creative. The Bible told me so. How many of you used to sing that song? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. And then it told me a whole bunch of other things, and I didn't believe it. So I pick and choose what I want to believe out of the Bible, and here's what I want to believe. So you may wonder, why are we going into the Bible story again? Yes, we are, because I believe that we live in this Western culture, and we're influenced by a book that came through the ancestors to our culture. And I believe the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and the Tao Te Ching, I believe all of those things, all of those are maintenance manuals for the people living in those cultures. They're owner's manuals. They're service manuals. I get a car, it says do this at this time. Oh, and if this light comes on, check this. Or go to your dealer. Well, the Bible is the same thing, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Quran, or any of those books. They say, oh, this is going on, check this. And so they sort of set it up. Just like when I pull out my owner's manual for my car, it sets it up by saying, do you know how many years have gone into the making of this great automobile, and blah, blah, blah. And this is how it's set up in our thing called the Bible. It starts out in Genesis, and it says, basically, that God is creative, and so the story of Genesis is all about let there be, and then it was. So I find it interesting that the Hindus say that there's something similar, that God turned on itself and started the creative process, which also matches fairly metaphorically close to the Big Bang Theory. I mean, if you had to put the Big Bang Theory and how we think, or the, astronomers think the universe was created, if you put it into poetry, it would sound a lot like Genesis 1. Very poetic way of saying things. So here it is. Boom. Energy differentiation, planets, water, atmosphere, plants, animals, humans, in 6 days. Then that's rest. That's not death. I just realized I have to, my mouth and my face could have said something different. So God created it all, and according to this story, God created it all and said it was good. And this is interesting. At the very end, right before the rest, it said, and let us create man and woman in our image. And yes, it is plural. And no one takes it out, even those people who try to retranslate the Bible. It always stays plural because the words used were definitely plural. That's a totally different discussion. And then it says, let us make man and woman in our image. And so what is that image? In fact, image and likeness. And what is the image and likeness? We're not really sure. But that could be why people have thought that God was a big guy in the sky, by and by, eating pie. Jeez. Okay, I am channeling Zeus, and Dr. Seuss, and it's not fun. So what a lot of people believe is that the image and likeness is that we are, because it hasn't talked about what God looked like. What it's talked about is what God has done so far. Let there be, let there be, let there be. Creation, building on what has come before. And guess what? If we are in its image and likeness, then what we do know, we are like it in nature, and that we are creative, and that we can create and see things as good. Because that's what's come so far. We are intelligent. We take after its nature. We are very intelligent. I'm going to talk about intelligence a couple of times today, but we're intelligent. But so is all creation. I saw a TED Talk recently where a scientist proved that trees talk to each other and take care of each other. Trees! I know that they've talked to people. I've had people out, lean against a tree and have the tree talk. Trees talk. But I didn't know they talk to each other. They share nutrients in the ground to trees that are in trouble. They will pass nutrients on to them. That's intelligent. So we don't have the corner on intelligence in the universe, besides what might be out there. But what we do know is that we are creative. Trees are not creating, but trees are definitely intelligent. They don't paint themselves. No, my leaves are much more yellow than that. They don't do that. So human beings are creative, and we build bridges, we build boats, we build central air conditioning, and we build guns and bombs. And in our thinking and our actions, we can create either heaven or hell, which, by the way, is all told in the 2nd chapter of Genesis and how that happens. But that's not my talk either. What I want to say is that if we're going to own the fullness of our species, and how, by the way, you all know you're human, right? Should I see some hands? If we are human, we must also own we are creative. What separates us from the plants and other animals is our ability to create. To use that intelligence to create something new that has never been before. Because that's the story of Genesis. Boom, there it is. Boom, there it is. Boom, there it is. It didn't say, oh, well, there's always been emptiness. So I guess that's it. No, it said, boom, let's do it. It moved forward. So, and that's a story that, by the way, I believe happened from someone who was high on God and got a download. So I believe that the Bible is incredibly true without having to be factual. I don't believe it's a fact that Noah put 2 of everything in an ark and that a flood covered the whole world. I don't believe that's a fact. I do believe, though, that certain truths come through this thing that we call the Bible that is true because it's filled with truth. Not factual, but true. And so the download can happen, and I think that's someone who saw in beautiful poetic form how things came to be, and therefore that person's and humanity's responsibility to be creative. That's the setup in this owner's manual that we call the Bible. Now, why would I come up with this? I come up with this because there's been times I've been high on God, and I've had downloads that just let me know things. How many of you have been high on God and had a download? It's not uncommon. You're in this room. You've had them. Or if you haven't had them, you're sitting close to someone who's had them. They happen. And it's very difficult for human beings to put a nonlinear experience into linear language so it can be communicated to other people who haven't had that experience. Just like Leo was trying to explain to you something that's hard to explain, but those of you that have had that experience were all nodding your head. Because we can kind of understand. So someone got the download that the reason that we are creative and must be created because we are in the image and likeness of that which creates. And we need to be like that. Now, to be like that, to move into that, we have to not dummy down spiritual principle. Now, I'll tell you what I think is dumbing down spiritual principle. I think spiritual principles work, and they are what's being communicated in all major religions, but sometimes we'll take one tiny little spiritual principle and magnify it and say, that's the whole thing, which was, I believe, this is Kathianne's own opinion, and please disregard it if you don't agree, because that's the good thing about our church. I just say what goes on for me, and you can either take it or leave it. But what goes on for me is that we dummy down huge, powerful, deep, magnificent spiritual principles by getting all wrapped up in the law of attraction. The law of attraction says that if I just see it enough, I will draw it to me. And it works, but it's only a part of the law of cause and effect. Because what can happen is you'll just see it and then you'll see everybody else have it. Because do you see how that is still separate? What's also important is not so much what you see, but who you are and who you are in that picture. And also what you're contributing to the world, which is the law of mental equivalence and the law of identity, and then the law of circulation, or as Emerson called it, the law of compensation. What you're going to always give out will always come back. And you can just see a whole bunch of stuff, but if you're not in action, it might just be pretty pictures showing up. So if we expand these laws and these spiritual principles and also know that it is our destiny to be creative, that's what we were created for, was to be part of this create machine that is creating the universe. You're creating the universe. We do not have to be the victim of the past or history. Whatever that plural thing was back there, it wasn't saying, oh, well, there's only been emptiness, and I guess we're just stuck with it. Instead, it said, oh, let's start moving. And let there be light. Wow. I bet it was just, I'm sorry, I'm just tripping just thinking about it. Anyway. This could be a great cartoon. So if we want to move into our responsibility and to use these spiritual principles and to move into this idea that I can be creative, there's 4 things we have to do. The first one is, I already said it, be responsible. You've got to be responsible, which is such a bugaboo in our culture right now because nobody wants to be responsible. Something happens and it's like, the worst thing is to say, I did it. Wow, what is this? Have you noticed it in the news? It's, as a culture, we have made it wrong to be wrong. Instead of, I was wrong. The book of the month is Fail Fast, Fail Often. Because you fail because you tried something. That doesn't work. Now try something else. Oh, that doesn't work either. Children fail a lot, and look how fast they develop. I don't know when it is. When do we reach this place in our human development where all of a sudden it's wrong to be wrong? Instead of like, that's wrong. Part of it's even in our language. Do you know if we spoke Spanish, and Ruby's going to tell me if this is right or not, if a Spanish person says it's late, they'll say the time is late, right? The time is late. You know what we say? I'm late. It's wrong. I'm wrong. We wear it like clothing. But if we don't take responsibility, we can't respond freely. We'll always be protecting ourselves. And therefore, we're not really living out of our divinity and our spiritual magnificence. We're living out of proving ourselves to not be too wrong. Do you see? How do you live a big life like this? When we take responsibility, not blame or shame, but because we have recognized that some things are better than other things, but all things are just things, when we level that playing field, we are then free to have control and hope and freedom, because response is always freedom. How I respond is my own freedom. And I will hope and have more hope because I am no longer a victim. I have the ability to respond to things in ways that will work for me. And I will have the ability to start things anew. I mean, I'm just not into it. I don't read biographies, but if I did, I know what I would find, and that is that great people use the circumstances that they already have and that they have moved into or they've found. I mean, I don't know if I believe in fate or not, but I know that we all have different circumstances, and people who we call great people take those circumstances, make some decisions, and make lemonade out of it. Oh, and by the way, we only have biographies of great people because nobody wants to read about others. They won't sell. But I've heard little snippets of stories because I'm sort of a Reader's Digest kind of girl. And the people that I admire, yeah, they had stuff happen to them, but they were responsible for how they responded, and therefore they were responsible for how they created their life from that moment on. And they'd say, let there be. Let there be. And sometimes they created a thriving life for themselves, and sometimes they created a whole new world for those people around them. Responsibility is a wonderful thing. I want to start a whole new 12-step group. Hi, I'm Kathianne, and I'm responsible. And that people would say, oh, I'm responsible too. And I would, a day at a time, one moment at a time, I would take responsibility for what I am facing and what I'm thinking. Because I'm no longer afraid of the world out there. Our lack of responsibility is our fear of what might happen out there, so we protect ourselves by doing blame and shame game. But it's not creative. Well, it is creative. It's creating the same old thing over and over again. I gave some examples, but we're running out of time, so get the CD from the first service. Huh. Trust me, they're very good examples. All right, but first, after I'm going to be responsible, then I get to be responsible to stop playing small creative games. Because we're all playing great creative games. If we know we're responsible, we know and can take responsibility for the life that we're creating by how large or small we're playing the game. And let me give you an example. How many of you don't do this, but you know people in your family that make a big deal about nothing? And they create a lot of excitement and drama. And it all gets real juicy, and it's nothing. That's the small game. If you want to overcome that, get a bigger game, because Carl Jung said, if you want to solve any problem, just get a bigger problem. If you want to leave that game, just get a bigger game. And the bigger game is, who do you want to create yourself being today and any other day? Who are you going to be? How are you going to create this day? What are you going to create in your office? Well, my office is this way, and my neighborhood is this way, so how are you going to create it being different? How are you going to create it? Now, that'll get the wheels churning. And if you make a demand on the universe, how am I going to create this? You will start getting downloads of information because you've made a demand. You might also say, and this is for me, today I'll create myself as this, this way. I will create myself this way. What do you want to create out in the world and in your environment, and how do you want to be? You can create that. Now, my general tendency, and people don't believe this, but it's true, my general tendency is to be shy, especially in social situations, because I really don't know how to do small talk. And I have this, I just want to meet somebody and say, how's your life going, and what can we pray for? I mean, it's just not good in social settings. Can we move on? How much God have you had today? So, since that's probably not appropriate, what do you say? And so I will tell myself I'm shy. But there have also been times that I've said, today I won't be shy, and I find myself talking to people with great ease, because in that moment I decided to recreate my identity and who I said I was. Now, you may not be noticing it, but I notice it. I no longer say I'm uncoordinated. I might think it, but I immediately redo it. Now I have a slightly elevated story, which is it just takes me a little longer to get with the physical program, which is better than uncoordinated. At least I'm in progress this way. So we take responsibility to be creative. We stop playing small games. We start playing larger games. And then I encourage us to play the creative game. And let me just go back and talk about play game and the importance of playing games. The importance of recreating your life. We have a huge responsibility as the human species to live up to what the human species was given in that unfoldment of evolution when God's created us in their image and likeness. I saw something recently, and I put it on my Facebook page, of an elephant that was shot by a poacher in the head. But it was so intelligent that it escaped the poachers and got itself to a vet in Africa. And it showed up, marched in, and the vet started working on it and worked diligently to save that elephant's life. How did an elephant know what a vet was? They'd never seen it before. And that a vet could help it. That's intelligence. Huge intelligence. But the elephant is not going to write a story about its experience. That's creativity. That's us. And one of the ways that we stop playing consciously the games we're playing, and therefore, because we must create, we play small games of whodunit, and let me show you why they did, and let me show you the underbelly of it, is because we're not playing the game of our huge creativity. And we must play the game consciously, or we'll play it unconsciously. I saw a documentary recently that talked about Finland and its education system. And a few years ago, its education system was on par with ours, which is not that great. You know, for us to be the world leader, we're not in education. Well, Finland made some changes and shot up to the very highest level. It is the best educated, best system of education in the world, number one, by all those academic people that rate this sort of stuff. And frankly, I like a story, so I don't care what they're rating it on. But the story is that Finland's now number one. You know why they're number one? Because they let children play more. They reduced the time that a child spent in class to 20 hours a week, and that includes lunch. There's no homework. They discovered that as a child plays, it learns. How did you learn when you played? And played when you learned. Children play, and they're learning. So they just gave the children more play. So play at this. Play at being confident. Play at being attractive. Play at being generous. Play at knowing the answers to things. Play at the idea that there's a solution and it might come through you. Show up as like you might be the one. We've been waiting for a bunch of ones, and that hasn't got us anywhere because we've been playing the wrong game. We've been playing the game as a human race that someone will show up and save us. It has not worked. And it's especially not working now. What if you played like you're it? That's a game. It's called tag. And that you play not only for yourself, but you play on the Olympic level, which means you play for team humanity. Just as all of our athletes are in Rio de Janeiro, right? Rio. And they're playing not only to get a medal and take it home, but they're playing for the whole United States. You know, we're all cheering for them. So play for humanity. Play a big game. You can. And you can also play like you're not going to, but you'll still be creative. You can always play like you have no significance. And then you can change and do something totally new and play a new game. So I want to share with you a song and a video that makes me cry and inspires me every time that I watch it. The song was sung by Stephan, first service. It was the first song she sang, and I cried. Leo had to talk just so I could wipe up tears. because I had no idea how much this song affected me. It's always affected me. Because it sounds like making a choice to play big in your life, even though it might just be big for you, to do things you've never done before, because there's a Native American tradition that says, today's a good day to die. And it's a good day to die because I'm full. I've lived my life. I have no regrets. There will be no, oh, I wish I had. That's part of the song. But you're going to see the video, which made me cry, because you're going to watch a woman do something that is, in my world, horse world, is fairly impossible. She's going to be in a reining competition, which, doesn't matter. Google it later. But she decided to up it. Even though it's the world championship, she decided to up the whole thing by taking off the saddle and taking off the bridle. Because her dad said, always try something new. And so whenever I watch it, when I watch that video and I listen to this song, which is also playing while she rides in the video, I think, how have I used this day? Have I recreated yesterday? Or am I creating something totally new? This is the prayer.
Said I was in my early 40s with a lot of life before me, when a moment came that stopped me on a dime. I spent most of the next days looking at the x-rays and talking about the options and talking about sweet time. I asked him when it sank in that this might really be the real end. How's it hit you when you get that kind of news? Man, what'd you do? And he said, I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu, and I loved deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I'd been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying. Said I was finally the husband, and most of the time I wasn't. And I became a friend would like to have. And all of a sudden going fishing wasn't such an imposition. And I went 3 times that year, I lost my dad. Well, I finally read the good book, and I took a good long hard look at what I'd do if I could do it all again. And then I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu, and I loved deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I've been denying. And he says, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying, like tomorrow was a gift, and you've got eternity to think about what you do with it, and what would you do with it, and what did I do with it, what would I do with it? Skydiving, I went sweeter, and I watched an eagle as it was flying. And he said, someday I hope you'll get the chance to live like you would die. Yeah. Live like you would die.